Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series all head to Darlington this weekend for Throwback Weekend. We give you a betting edge next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Thrilled to not only be joined by these fine men, but we got a special guest coming up here in a matter of moments. And unfortunately, tonight, Phil will not be joining us. He is down in Disney. So, Phil, if you're watching us live, hope you're doing well and having a good time down there. A lot to cover here. We just had the closest finish in NASCAR history. So again, if you're watching on YouTube or X, make sure you let us know, where we can find you and tell your comments. And we'll get some comments up here. And we're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. I know we had a lot of fun last week when everything was heading to Kansas, but we got a triple header weekend. So we got Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. So let's go into who's here tonight. And got to welcome on Skybox NASCAR Mark Harris. Mark, you were out of town last week. You kind of made a little inroad after the show, and we're out in Utah. So how was your experience out there? Are you a Ute? And how did the betting weekend go for you as well?
Utah is one of the wildest places on earth, let me tell you. The rules, the laws, the people, it's a whole nother planet out there. Yep. The mountains are cool. The bar's fun. Found a dive bar, had a little fun, drank a little too much, had a great time. Gambling weekend was terrible. I had the worst weekend that I've had all season. Lost in trucks, Ofer. Thanks, Ty Majeski, second lap. Cup, Ofer. Literally did not win a single bet this week, so that's tons of fun. And then rent payment, credit card payment. We're not feeling good. But we have fired some bets for this week. Not a great idea. We fired some bets. We did not have to reach into the 401k. Thank the Lord. We're all good. But yeah, the Hard Rock balance that you guys saw about 11 and a half races ago, Dunzo. Gone. Okay. Gone. We are poor. We are with the common folk now. So, but hey, listen, this is what it's all about. It's all about having fun, being responsible. Shout out all the sports books that want to take all of our same game parlay money and then tell us to do it responsibly. So now we're back this week. Hey, we're feeling good. I'm in a great mood. I have no idea why, but we're fired up and ready to talk some bets.
You're in a good mood because it's Wednesday night, NASCAR Betting Preview Show. You know where it is. Ryan Stevens, I'm going to throw it over to you, CEO of WinTheRace.info, True Performance Ranks. Ryan, how was it for you this weekend? And I know we were just chatting a little bit before the show, but how are you doing leading into this week at Darlington?
All right. I mean, last week was a brutal bloodbath, as Mark said. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like in the NASCAR betting community and world, a lot of people are like, man, could I ever be on the right side of a late caution? But I mean, I'm living that. You can look at the betting cards I put out and look where it is before the last caution comes out, and it's been brutal. So, I mean, I don't know. I thought that I got enough right this week to at least not lose my ass, and I won a couple bets, so it wasn't a blank, but it wasn't a good day by any means necessary. Lost money. I lost the main, I maxed out the cash game, the biggest one on DraftKings. I lost that on the last caution. We had that one. It just was brutal all around. I just wanted a race to stay green, or if for once I'm losing the day and a late caution comes out, I'd love for it to help me, but I don't know what that life is like. So we'll see. I'm pumped for Darlington though. It's just like Mark said, like I'm in a good mood. It is what it is. We're going to have ups. We're going to have downs. Let's get back to it. And no use in crying over spilled milk. Let's just fucking go.
Go ahead,
One more
Mark.
thing.
Before we bring on our guest, go ahead.
I just completely failed to mention that I think the reason that we're all in good moods is because we just saw one of the craziest finishes of all time. The closest, just nuts. I mean, NASCAR, I tweeted out, NASCAR is buzzing, absolutely buzzing on social media. So fired up.
If there's one saving grace from that, it's that we got to see that ending. So if we're gonna lose like that, at least give us that type of show. That was sweet.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to tonight, and let's welcome on our special guest this evening, joining us back again, Dale Tanhart, the man, the myth, the legend. I love it. I love the backdrop there, Dale. That's awesome. So for anybody that doesn't know, Dale is a NASCAR bettor. You can find him he's a Kick streamer as well, kick.com/Dale Tanhart. Follow him on X at Dale Tanhart as well, and then follow him on the Action Network at Dale Tanhart as well. Very easy, Dale. You keep it all simple for everybody. If you're watching this show because of anything Dale did to the F1 fan base, welcome to the greatest form of motorsports. So, Dale, how are you tonight?
What's going on, guys? I'm pretty good. I joined in when Ryan was talking about how the cautions, and I saw some people in the chat immediately bring that up. Like, I had like a 80,000 unit swing on Kyle Busch spinning, and that's the first thing I saw and resonated with if we're talking about Kansas. But like Mark said, dude, energy is really strong right now with how the racing's been on intermediates, especially. Atlanta obviously was incredible and was our first photo finish. Now you get one at Kansas, and it's just bonkers right now. And if you're one of the people who is a F1 elitist or a Netflix subscriber, just look at my last video I posted. I issued an apology, and you should check that out. It was very heartfelt. But heading into this weekend, I need a rebound. I heard Ryan talking about how everything he had felt pretty spot on before you get that last caution. And I feel similarly. Like, I wasn't due for a big weekend, but I was due for a surviving weekend if Kyle Busch doesn't spin out there before we get the green, white checkers. So it is what it is. And at least if you lose your bets, it's fun knowing that you lost in a race that was a Hall of Fame type of race, top to bottom, into the checkered flag. So we can take that and run into Darlington with some good vibes and some good energy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I'm fired up for the race here, or the episode here in the race this weekend, as we got triple header weekend Trucks Xfinity Cup. And I like what Albert said. I mean, revenge is this week in his opinion. So let's go into rapid fire. Got a couple questions here for the boys. Again, this is just an icebreaker type segment. I'm going to ask them all a certain number of questions. We're going to get into a few things here tonight. And Mark, you are the leadoff man. I don't know if you ever played leadoff in your life, but here you're going to play leadoff here. Better finish on Sunday for you, Mark. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano. We're going to stay in the Ford camp. Who you got?
Just pluck both of my eyes out. Why don't you?
That's what I'm trying to do.
I got to give the lean to.
I
got to give the lean to Logano here, just because of how good he was. I think it was the first Darlington race. I'm looking at Zach's power rankings. I don't see it. Well, Blaney's 6th, and I don't see Logano anywhere on here. So, 24th. Man, I really hit that one spot on. I'm still going to ride with Logano. I hate betting teammates, but we're going to ride Logano. I don't know if he won that race, the first race at Darlington in the spring, but he was really, really, really good. Oh, that was when him and Byron.
Correct.
Going into 3.
Now it's coming back to you.
Yeah, I still don't remember who won that race, but I know he was good. So let's go with Logano.
Yeah. So in 22, Logano would have won that race, got into Byron, 1 lap to go, passed them. And that was that. Then last year we saw a little bit of a crazier finish as well. These next 3 questions here we're kind of in the same conversation piece. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Who's to blame for the lack of offerings across the NASCAR markets right now?
Man, who's to blame?
Who's to blame?
I mean, sports books themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're smart, but they're greedy. It's just like, that's just their game. I don't know. I mean, this is a totally different landscape. I was talking to Greg earlier this week, actually, and he was talking about some of the numbers he had at Darlington in the past. And, a lot of people remember like the Erik Jones hit and things like that. And then I think you could even get Denny at 10-1 and things like that early week. And now, I mean, these numbers are literally slashed in half. So I don't know. Are they smart? Are they greedy? Probably both. But yeah, blame the sports books. I don't know.
All right, we'll blame the sports books. Dale, I'm going to throw the next one to you. Paint me a picture of the best situation for us motorsports gamblers. What does that look like from a, maybe a 30,000 square foot view of, hey, if the perfect world for us gamblers, we would be able to have access, and what would that look like in your estimation? I know it's a larger question, but for you, what does that look like?
As in, wow, that's like very abstract.
Yeah, right. I'm coming with the hard hitting questions right now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
paint us a perfect picture of like how would it, like we see it in all these other sports, right? Where they have all these markets, they have all these opportunities. Then you and I were just texting. We don't even have Truck Series odds, and it's 40. There's 48 hours until the race actually begins. We don't even have Truck Series odds. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Well, number one, selfishly, please let me bet Mobley in Mississippi. Mobley, I don't think is a word, but I would love to be able to bet on my phone in Mississippi legally. That'd be sick. But for everybody, I guess consistency on every single sports book would be nice because the way NFL football is, you can go to Caesars, DraftKings, or FanDuel and find just a plethora of activations in profit boosts, specials. And I do think, as much as we want to complain, and I think like what you just said, us texting, it's ridiculous we don't have truck odds for a Friday night race when we did have truck odds last week for a Saturday night race. Like, what's going on? It's frustrating, but it is getting better compared to where it's been. And as somebody that's been betting on this for 5.5, 6 years, it is improving every single year, I think. And, I just like the fact that we can bet on qualifying on several different books now. We've been kind of inconsistent with stage winner bets. I feel like that's kind of taken a weird turn since 2023. But all in all, to sum up, I would like every single sports book to have very similar offerings. That way everybody can get involved, because based upon what state you're in, there's certain books you can't use. And if you have offerings that are, and maybe the prices will be different, which is normal, but if the offerings are similar enough, everybody has a chance to get into the game. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, I guess, from a grand scheme. But that's second. P1 would be bring it to Mississippi, please. I've been waiting for way too long.
Let's get it to Mississippi. If maybe we can show the senators and those that are going to be voting on this episode here. Dale, you can lead us in that direction. Let's get it to the SIP. So
they're all like 170 years old. They've been in Congress for 143 years. It's not gonna. It's asinine, but we can hope.
It's true. They were chiseling the odds on back in the day when Lee Petty was racing.
Right.
Mark, I'm going to throw it over to you, and just my question to you was going to be just anything piggyback there. How would you fix any issues that we're seeing? Anything you want to add from maybe what Ryan or Dale said?
It's a perfect way to answer my question, because I was going to piggyback on both of their answers. I'm about to drop the hammer that no one's going to like.
I like it. So
we can blame nobody but ourselves.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is our wallets. There is not enough money coming in to NASCAR for these books to give two flying shits about what they offer, about Caesars putting out over under with no name. Rory coined it over under roulette, something he'd be into for sure. But the reality is that NASCAR is still not even close to the amount of money that comes in on the top 3 to 4 major sports, where we have, like Dale was referring to, we have so many options, and it's pretty streamlined around every single book. Ohio, Pennsylvania, whatever states up there that's got like literally 20 different offerings. You can go to all 20 books and see just about the same offerings, the same odds, very similar for football, baseball, basketball, maybe hockey, probably not. But there's just, and we've heard it time and time again. Jeffrey Benson said it. Todd Furman said it. There's just not enough money coming in for them to care enough to make yes/no markets, like Ross was saying, or to be consistent about it, or to have odds. Like Todd tweeted out yesterday that as soon as the NFL schedule comes out, they're going to have odds for week 1. That's just how it goes. There's so much money in it that people are going to bet it. I wouldn't be shocked if there's more money bet on the NFL in the next month than there is on an entire NASCAR race. I mean, it's just, it sucks, and it's frustrating, and I bitch about it. We all bitch about it, and we should, because I don't know if we're doing anything, but I know they see us on Twitter. I know for a fact. So it sucks, but the more popular it gets, the more shows we do, the more Dale Tanhart videos there are shitting on F1 going viral. That all helps us. So
he put an apology video out. Let's not forget, it was very heartfelt. So anybody, like Dale said, if you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch that. It was heartfelt. Yeah, I'm with
Dale's
you.
right though. Like if we keep grinding this out and growing the awareness, it's only been legal in New York for what, 3 years now or something, or they've had NASCAR offerings and more books opening, but it's gotten way better as far as the amount of offerings over that time.
Yeah.
So although the odds are getting slashed to almost nothing, there are more offerings. So it's just a grind. You just gotta play a lot smarter, I think, than you had to 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think
even in Mississippi, one more point. Even in Mississippi, where you can't bet on your phone legally, the casinos, like the way they've done their sports betting kiosks, like obviously that's great for stick and ball sports, and people line up at those things to just file in bets and print paper like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But even with NASCAR, you see a lot more variety compared to where it was 4 years ago when I walked into a casino and I looked at a sheet and I could only bet on winners. So progress is being made, but I totally agree with the money thing. But the question was, Derek, in a perfect world, in a perfect world, they're right. But we answer that in a perfect world, which would mean everybody spends the same amount of money on NASCAR betting as they do on college football and NFL too. But
you're right. Well, that's good. I think that these conversations are good, and that's why I like having this platform where we can kind of share, and everybody out there listening that, one of these guys or your favorite content creator or somebody that you're following, it's definitely cool to hear the feedback there, because I think it's warranted. It's something that I've started seeing maybe going on a downward trend a little bit, and wanted to make sure that we addressed it here. So Ryan, I'm going to throw a question over to you, getting back to Darlington, your favorite market heading into Darlington this weekend.
Man, well, I'm gonna have to say top 10s right now.
Okay,
but they kind of got slammed. But I think the top 10s are pretty good this week.
Well, that's good. Well, then I'm looking forward.
I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Yep, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say there. Dale, I'm going to throw one back to you, Truck Series related. Who are some people maybe sleeping on this week? Now we have to put odds to the side because we don't have those yet anywhere. Who are maybe some people that you've seen on Twitter, Kick or whatever, that you feel like, man, they're sleeping on this driver going into Darlington?
I think we got to talk about Ben Rhodes, who is on my radar, but now with the news today of their crew chief swapping, even more on my radar, because for whatever reason, Ben Rhodes and his crew chief, Rich Lucius, they're great. They're good at some of the shorter tracks, obviously have been pretty good at Phoenix over the past couple of years. I know last year they just literally had to survive to win a championship, but in other times, they had to get there, and they performed well at some of the shorter racetracks. But when he had a different crew chief last year, which he had a different crew chief and then swapped to Rich Lucius for the end of the season, won the title. But before that, he had a crew chief and they won at a 1.5 mile race at Charlotte. And Darlington is labeled as a 1.5 mile or an intermediate, but it doesn't race anything like a Charlotte or other 1.5 mile. But I do think, just based on how Ben Rhodes has performed with Rich Lucius over the past couple years, they're not good together at these type of racetracks. And now that we have another crew chief in the mix, I think it may give a spark, right? It may give a spark to that team who's outside looking in on the playoff picture in the Truck Series, which is crazy for a two-time champion. So I think Ben Rhodes is a guy that is going to open somewhere around 35-1. If for the love of God, we could see odds. But I think 35-1, 30-1 for someone like Ben Rhodes, who's really struggled this year. New crew chief on the box, throw something at it, see if they can make something happen for Ford and Thorsport. That's one guy that I think is a good start, and looking at an underdog and someone that people may not be talking about, especially with Cup guys racing in the Truck Series, like a Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain. They're going to dilute the odds a good bit, where you're going to have all your truck regulars at a better price than you would normally get them. So I could even enhance somebody like Ben Rhodes, who I don't think is going to have pure winning speed. But when you come to these tracks and have tire wear, it opens the door for strategy. You have cautions other than the stage breaks will open the door for strategy. And Ben Rhodes is one of those guys who has taken advantage and taken control of races due to strategy calls. So I think there's a few good points to make about taking a look at Ben Rhodes for a long shot bet on Friday night.
You don't have to sell me on Ben Rhodes. I know what his talent is, as you do as well. And he opened up at 35-1 last week at Kansas. Obviously, that number got slashed after practice and qualifying. So hopefully this weekend we can see a little better opportunity there. And like you said, maybe some people are sleeping on him. Mark, I'm going to throw a question to you. Let's go to the Xfinity Series. And on Saturday, who has a better finish in your opinion? Let's see. Who did I write down? Almirola or Allgaier?
Oh, come on. This is my addiction.
I know. That's why you're getting the question.
I mean, Gators like co-favorite with Byron, pretty close. I mean, he is. I tweeted this out last week. He's quickly becoming the Larson choke artist, and I think somebody responded and said, "Where have you been sleeping under a rock?" That is what Justin Allgaier is. So, I mean, he's been around forever. He's just so fast. And he just can't finish the job. Like Auto Racing Analytics, he always puts the graphic out. The 7 is always between start finish and 3 and 4, which if you don't know what that means he had a really fast car every single race. Okay. I'm taking Allgaier.
Okay.
I can't. I mean, he's veteran. He's been around Darlington 1,000 times. I get it. Almirola has also been around forever, but he's been in a Cup car just as long as Allgaier has been in an Xfinity car. So that's probably 15,000 more laps than Almirola. So yeah, give me some Gator.
Okay. Well, that's why I knew I could throw you a tough one there. Mark or Ryan, last question to you. Best throwback this weekend. We know it's throwback weekend. So what's the best scheme you found?
Oh man, I got.
All right. Well,
I got one for you.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
It's Ross Chastain. It's not close. Oh, where'd Ryan go? I don't know.
Ryan's going. No, I upset him with the question.
Hey, the Harrison Burton one, really good too. I'm just saying, it's grassroots themed. Harrison Burton's very underrated, but I agree. I think the Ross Chastain's is the sexiest and the most resonating when it comes to nostalgia, because me and Mark are probably the same age, and around that time we were probably pounding a lot of that particular can of Busch Light back in the day. At least I know I was. So it really resonates well, and it's a beautiful car. So
that's good. Ryan, you want to try to take another stab after you unmute your mic? Yeah, you want to try again?
Good God, I was going through my tabs and just fucking X'd out of this thing by accident. So, but I did hear what they said about Ross Chastain, and you know, I'll agree for now until I can really dive in and look at all of them. But I did order that Busch Light Chastain hoodie this year that I really like. So I'll be wearing that this weekend watching the race.
Okay, I like that. I got a Big Ross said the Larson throwback. Got Bonnie, little throwback there. Mark, I'm going to throw you one, and then Dale, you're going to close it out here. What is your favorite throwback this weekend? Or you touched on it there with Chastain, I guess.
Sorry, I had to throw it in there. Yeah, dude, Busch Light. I mean, like Dale said, the amount of beers that were hidden, amount of that can that was hidden somewhere in my house, that were drank, that were driven to a dumpster. The amount of nostalgia, I love that car. Bought the diecast. Ryan, that's where I thought you were going with that. I thought you were like, I got my Busch Light. I thought you were saying you bought the diecast. I pre-ordered that thing. I could not hit it so quick. I might buy 2. I might buy the 124. I might buy the 164. I mean, let me tell you something about that.
All right.
Big
a little money going that way. Dale, you remember the old days back when like the Dale Earnhardt Oreo car, where they would actually be in like a tin that looked like an Oreo. You open it up and all that. We need to get one. Busch Light needs to make one there for Chastain. That'd be cool. So Dale, I'm going to let you close here with the rapid fire and Monday morning headline. We'll read what?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this, because the last time we nailed it with William Byron winning the Daytona 500. I think the Monday morning headline will read, RFK finally breaks through for Ford. My first few bets of the week have been on all RFK guys, actually, if you include Justin Haley, but I'm sure there's a segment where we can get into that later. Okay. But this has been a good track for Brad Keselowski. He's won here before. Yeah. And since fall of 2022, he's run top 10 every single race. And Chris Buescher is very sneaky here. Even when Chris Buescher was with JTG, he constantly knocked off top 20s at Darlington. And at the beginning of his Roush tenure, struggled, as Roush did before the transition and in the early part of their transition in the Gen 7 era. But Chris Buescher sneakily has a 6th best average finish amongst all active drivers over the past 6 races at Darlington. That sticks out to me. We know Chris Buescher last year, when he got hot, he seemed unstoppable. I don't want to miss out on that after what happened last week. He seemed like he, after being disgustedly sick after losing that incredible race, I don't want to lose out on the momentum on the hot streak that Chris Buescher might go on here. When you look at the details, this is a good track for him. So the headline will read RFK breaks through. Is it going to be Buescher? Is it going to be Brad? I don't know. I like both of them. I'm betting on both of them. But there you go.
I like how you worded that, so you can just get credit for both. So that works out well. It's a bummer that your background is not RFK then. Man, that would have been a perfect little backdrop there. So then let's do this. Let's transition now into position props and the ride and fade segment there. And Mark, I'm going to let you kick this off and tell us where we're going.
Yeah, disclaimer. I just mistakenly put an absurd amount of money on John Hunter, thinking he was in a JGR car at 12-1. Newsflash, he's not.
Maybe we need to go back 20 minutes. And while you were saying I lost a lot of money, and hey, just do it responsibly.
Well, absurd can mean a lot of different amounts. So,
yeah, absurd can. Yeah,
we'll leave it up to the imagination. All right. I did not love the matchup market this week, so I don't have a ton to talk about. And I did not bet this, but I wanted to bring it up because two guys, one of them has been running well. The other one has been caught up in shit every single week. And I'm betting on the guy that's caught up in all the shit. So I'm taking Bubba Wallace minus 115 over Bowman the Showman. That's on Caesar Sportsbook. And I'm just doing my normal prep, my weekly prep. And I look at numbers on just about every matchup, unless they're teammates. I just keep scrolling. And this one started out pretty intriguing. So in Zach's power rankings, Bubba's 10th, Bowman's 17th. He has his NLD speed at the last 4 Darlington races in the Gen 7 car. Bubba 9th, Bowman 20th. And then Zach's got this new thing called NLD average running position. I don't remember if I talked about it last week or not, but it's close to the loop data average running position, but some guys are way off, and some, because like if you wreck, he just takes that out and he does all sorts of shit. Anyway, Bubba's is 10.73 and Bowman is 20.67, so double. And even on we're looking at 8 comp tracks this week, or 8 comp races this week.
I was gonna say
last 4 Darlington
tracks.
Yeah, Homestead, Dover, and the last 2 Bristol races. Zach's always got the quirkiness. So Bubba's got him covered on those as well. And like I said, don't love. It was either teammates, it was either juiced, it was either too close to call. So this was the one that was really glaring at me by the numbers. But I have not laid a matchup this week. So I don't know if these guys are going to ride or fade, but I'd love to hear a sales pitch and possibly lay some coin down.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to give you the first crack at that sales pitch. You going to ride or fade what he was saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd ride with Bubba here as well. I have Bubba ranked just one spot above Bowman. Okay. But if you look a little deeper, like Greg puts out the front runners, and if we just look at all the next gen Darlington races, Bubba's got a much better average running position, and he does it kind of like he was saying Zach does too, where it's more of a true average running position. Only taking the percentages of the laps they ran and stuff like that. So it's a little more accurate. It accounts for wrecks and certain things like that. I don't know. I think I have Bubba much higher when I start to look at that. And I can do, while Dale talks, I can even punch into our Discord here, and we have a bot that I can put the head-to-head against each other and just see what the sim says about it too. So I'll do that and see.
Okay. Dale, I'm going to give you a final word here. You're going to ride with what the boys are saying, or are you fading it, going the other direction?
If we're talking about Bubba and Alex Bowman,
correct.
I think you'd have to go Bubba Wallace, because this has been a really bad track for Alex Bowman. I'm not going to touch it though, because I'm kind of a momentum guy at times, and I'm a momentum guy this weekend. And Bubba has the opposite of momentum. He's had some good cars. I know they kind of flopped last week between him and Tyler Reddick, where we expected them to be really, really good, and they were just kind of very average. But Bubba Wallace is on a really bad streak right now, where he's just not getting finishes, and that kind of scares me, especially when you come to Darlington, which is a track that is just very synonymous with mistake prone, aka the Darlington Stripe and more, and especially in the Gen 7 era. 3 of the races here have been pretty crazy since the beginning of 2022. So I would take Bubba Wallace. I'm intrigued by that line, because I figured, I don't know. You said minus 115 on Caesars, Mark?
Yep.
Okay, I was making sure you didn't say minus 150, because I figured if you look at the stats, just like eye stat, I mean, literally just simple data, you would see Bubba Wallace has gotten pretty good here. Alex Bowman struggled. So I would take Bubba Wallace if I had to.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll remain on that train then. And Ryan, I'm going to go to you. What's the head-to-head matchup you found on the board that the people can run to and grab?
Yeah, I did. I punched in that Bubba one. We had it fair at -112. So I mean, it's right there. But I think looking at everything, it's kind of like my rankings too. Like I have them one spot at different than one another. But the other thing I'd mention is Reddick ran really good here too. So 23XI, and obviously their owner, has won 17% of his races here. He's pretty good at Darlington. I don't know. So mine is Kyle Busch -130 over Ty Gibbs. This was on Caesars. Again, these things move so fast. I don't know if it's still there or not. This wasn't too long ago though when I typed this up. To me, this one isn't really close. I have Busch tier 2 in my pre-practice and qualifying rankings. He's inside the top 10. Gibbs I have at the next tier down. If you're only looking at Darlington specifically, it swings big in Kyle Busch's favor here. And that's in both cars. This is with JGR and with RCR. And RCR was also very strong here with Tyler Reddick. There's a little different data set too that Greg's using in the front runners. He uses, the Darlington races in 23, 24, Vegas, Kansas, and Homestead. We like Kansas because, same time of the schedule, Kansas is showing a lot of tire wear recently. But Busch has ran over 55% of his laps inside the top 10 in that time. Gibbs has only ran 33% of his laps inside the top 10. And Kyle Busch with an average running position about 4 spots higher in that data set. So I just think he's running ahead, more often. The numbers don't lie there. If we're only looking at Gen 7 Darlington, only just those 4 races, only Byron has ran a higher percentage of his laps inside the top 10 than Kyle.
Okay. Interesting. I think that's Mark's doing it there. Yeah, I think that's good stuff there. Dale, I'm going to kick it over to you from what he was saying. You kind of agree with what Ryan was talking about there, or you're going to fade and go a different direction?
Yeah, well, Ty Gibbs I'm kind of chapped after last week where he ran better than Truex, even though Truex was close. I mean, Truex had a good car. Ty Gibbs outran him, I felt like 80% of that race. And then I don't know what happened, but Ty Gibbs, I look up and he's running 23rd after one of those pivotal green flag or caution, yellow flag pit stops. And then Truex is contending for the win. So this is a veteran racetrack. So I'd lean Kyle Busch there too. It's not a bet I would take just because I'm not a matchup guy. And last week is why, because I'm like, oh, Ty Gibbs over Truex plus money. Love that. And then I get chapped there at the end. So, I would take Kyle Busch too because the race car has had speed. I think there's some good indications of RCR being good here. Even Austin Dillon has been pretty rock solid at this racetrack over the past few years, whether it's been Gen 6 or Gen 7. So I think that gives you some confidence too, looking at Kyle Busch and that number 8 car. It just comes down to whether he makes a mistake. It feels like over the past 18 weeks of NASCAR Cup Series racing, Kyle Busch has been littered with mistakes, and that scares me. But if I had to pick, I would pick Kyle Busch too.
Okay, you would. Ryan, any final thoughts from that matchup that you were talking about before you broke out there?
I'm sorry, guys. I'm a mess tonight. I don't know what's happening here. It's
drink some wine.
Yeah, I need to. And so I liked everything Dale said there too. One thing Dale did mention was like a momentum type thing. And in these intermediate package, I have Gibbs with a true performance rank of 7, 9, 12, just trending in the wrong direction here the last 3 races, where I have Kyle Busch in the top 5 in both of the last 2 races. And he's kind of had a better car too than really, if you remember Bristol, he fucking shot ahead of everybody. He just didn't understand what was going to happen with the tires. Again, that's Kyle Busch making the mistakes he makes, so it is hard to take him in a head-to-head. But I don't think Ty Gibbs has really been, lights out with finishes either. So the number 8 RCR car in the next gen era at Darlington has finished 2, 3, 7, and 11. So, he did mention RCR has been strong here. They have been. So I don't really worry about that. I like the momentum that they have. I've heard some pretty sharp people say they think Kyle Busch can contend for a win this weekend, and I'm on it. So I know -130 is a little scary, but yeah, those are my final thoughts there.
Yeah, I think Kyle's shown me a lot since rolling out the backup car at Texas. I think I was a little shocked to see how well they ran, and they've just carried some good momentum over the last few weeks. Dover, Kansas. We're going to throw out Talladega for a moment there. But what about you, Mark? I'm going to let you close it out here. You're riding or fading what the boys are saying?
I'm riding with the boys, and I am on KFB in a later market. And I have a lot to say about this guy. So we'll leave it at that.
Good. I like that. Dale, I'm going to throw it over to you, let you close out this segment here. What's the head-to-head on the board that you found that really has an edge versus everything else?
Yeah, honestly, I really don't like anything. But I did see, which I don't even know the last time he used Bet365, but somebody in the chat said Chris Buescher against Bubba Wallace, and that stuck out to me. I'm big on RFK this weekend. Chris Buescher, as I said, been sneaky good here, and he's according to who sent that message, is the same odds both sides, -115 for Bubba or Buescher. Give me Buescher all day in that matchup. That's one that I just really feel solid about. With 2311's been good here with Reddick, and Bubba's been good as well, but I love the momentum factor. I think we see Bubba contend for a top 10. I think we see Chris Buescher run in the top 5 and contend for a win in a top 3. And I know that might seem kind of bold when you look at Buescher being 25-1. I know last week he closed at 60-1, but I'm pretty confident in RFK this weekend. So if you had to give me one matchup, I don't know where else that line would be available at. I didn't see it on DraftKings. I didn't see it on ESPN, and I didn't see it on FanDuel, which FanDuel doesn't have much anyway. But I would take Chris Buescher over Bubba Wallace at -115, according to whoever sent that in the chat. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and sent a message out to make sure that was taken at that price. So I'm going to go to Ryan. What do you think about that? Buescher, you like that? Buescher over Bubba, or is that close in your projections?
No, I can ride this Buescher RFK momentum, and we'll be talking about an RFK driver in this next segment here. So,
Mark, what about you? Final word.
No, I'm gun to my head. Bubba, just because I'm so heartbroken, and like when you bring up the ex-girlfriend that dumped your ass, like I don't I just want to turn the other cheek a little bit and just like not think about the free rent that I would have had for the next however many months if that guy won. So
so then I get what you're saying. So I see why you're saying that.
I love the momentum. Hold on. I'm sorry, Dale. I love the momentum play because I used to come on these shows and be like, I'm only taking this guy because of his paint scheme, and he's been running really well. And I love that take, and I love the momentum. I love the momentum take. RFK is so freaking close. So I see his argument. I'm out though.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab Buescher, and I hope that price is still there. Let's move into position props. I'm very curious what the guys have to say here in these markets, and I know it was teased a little bit earlier. So, Ryan, I'm going to let you open the floor here.
Yeah, I'll take Brad Keselowski top 10. He was -120 at Fanatics. It's the best number I could find, at least for the books that are offered in New York. I know Dale mentioned like Buescher's finishes have been so good at Darlington here too. So have Brad's. And actually, this year in this intermediate package, the only drivers with a better average finish than Brad Keselowski are Elliott, Larson, Truex, and Hamlin. So, I mean, minus Elliott, but literally the 3 favorites every single week in this package are the only guys with a better finish than Brad. If you look at just like his Darlington form that I have in my pre-practice and qualifying ranks, he ranks 7th, so that's inside the top 10. If we're only looking at Darlington runs for RFK for Brad, 3 or 4 of them are top 10s, and the only time he didn't was a DNF. In his last 12 at Darlington, he has top 10s in 7 of the 11 races he finished. -120, you'd only have to do it 55% of the time. 7 of the last 12 is 58%. And then even better with RFK here, in my eyes, just the one DNF is when he did not top 10 here. Same package as last week. So if you think about the end of that race too, Buescher was strong all day, but Brad was really coming on strong at the end of that race.
Yeah,
I had him 7th best speed last week. We're in the same package this week, obviously. If we look at a broader scope and bring in that set that Greg had, so 23, 24, Darlington, Vegas, Kansas, Homestead, Brad's one of 10 drivers who have ran over 50% of their laps inside the top 10. So if he's running inside the top 10 more than half the time, and he's minus 120. I'm cool with it, and it's something that he's done historically in a good sample size. And we've talked about the RFK momentum, so give me this. And I'm trying to get back that lunch money I had to send to Mark last week for Brad beating Logano. So yeah, maybe we run something else back this week, Mark. I'll text you.
I like that. I
Fire
like
it
that.
up.
Well, if you think of something on the show, it's always a good place to hash it out as well. Dale, I'm going to throw it over to you next. What have you found in the position prop market?
There we go. It worked the second time.
We're good now.
I feel Mark had said something about this earlier, but I bet this before I came down here. I like John Hunter Nemechek top 10 at 8-1 in the Cup race. It may not be my favorite before the green flag, but we're talking about Erik Jones, right? We're talking about Erik Jones, how good he is at Darlington, no matter what equipment he's been in. But he's proven in that number 43, which, by the way, glad he's going to be racing this weekend. It's going to be awesome to see him back at his best racetrack, arguably. But we're all talking about Erik Jones, and I don't hate 40-1. I'm thinking about it. We'll see what happens leading into the weekend, but this is a great John Hunter Nemechek racetrack. Between the trucks, Xfinity, he's led so many laps here, and yeah, he didn't win in Xfinity last year. He was really, really close both races. Remember the famously incredible finish with him and Kyle Larson, 2023 spring, and then in the 2023 fall race, just kind of slipped away from him, got outdueled by Denny Hamlin, which is a tough task to do. And in the truck series, he led a lot of laps here and did get one win. And I get it, the Cup car is completely different than either trucks or Xfinity, but I like drivers coming to racetracks that they're just good at. I like the fact that he has a good history here, and he does have Cup experience. We forget that he did race full-time in 2020 for Front Row. He was absolutely horrible, but I like the fact that he's run laps in a Cup car at this racetrack, at a track that he's been really, really good at in other series. So I think with a few of the underdogs that we've seen get top 10s here in the past, like a Justin Haley, like a Harrison Burton, 3 of the 4 races here have been crazy with accidents, with late race drama. Don't rule that out again for this one here in the spring. And when you look at legacy with the help of Erik Jones, I think John Hunter Nemechek could be a good underdog play. I know it's positional props, and I've got him for top 10, but I also bet him 300-1 to win the race for $5. So,
Dale, do you remember last week too? Stage 1. He raced from what he start 29th. He was up to 12th.
He was moving.
Yeah, like I think he was as high as 12th in stage 1. I mean, he was buzzing that whole race.
It's interesting. I don't think we're going to hear his name mentioned a whole lot, so I really appreciate you calling him out, Dale, because there is something that can be said about John Hunter. And I mentioned it a couple shows ago where he practices so well. So if you have something like you're saying, Dale, where you have a little bit of money on that outright price and you want to go sell it, prior to the race, you're going to make a little coin. We've seen how well he does, especially on these high tire wear tracks. So, Mark, I'm going to throw it over to you, let you close this out. I think you teased it earlier.
Oh, not quite yet, folks. Okay. But I'm going to the top 5 market, and I took a little Bill Byron top 5. I do my prep work on Tuesday nights. I got about a 2-hour window. And last night he was plus 150 on Hard Rock for a top 5. I think he's plus 135 now on Hard Rock. And you would have thought I learned my lesson last week. I had a few big bets on old Bill, winner, top 3, top 5, come Sunday morning. In my head, the car was fixed. It was not. Let me be the first to tell you. That car was not the car that sat P1 in every average except for like the 25 lap average. So a little bummed about that. But I'm going back to the well. I'm going plus 150, Bill Byron. And the numbers this week are flat out ridiculous. I know that there's, Hamlin's class of the field and Larson's up there every week, yada, yada. Well, people forget Bill's won a bunch of races this year. Now, he may have, there's no way he peaked too early. Race 13 of the season? Like, give me a break. Like, he's still fast. They just, our boy Fugel's got to, get a little something. Might have to do the Dale with the foot on the scales. He's going to do something figured out here at Darlington. So he's second in the power rankings. He's first in NLD speed in the last 4 Darlington races. With the new average running position, he is 6.23 at the last 4 Darlington races. Best in the Cup Series. So he's had back-to-back top 5s with a win and a 4th last year. And I'm riding the track history here. You can look at momentum. You can look at, what have you done on some comp races? We all know Darlington's a very unique track. It's a very different track. Even both sides of the track are extremely different. So it's tough to really hang your hat on a comp track. But Byron's run so well at Darlington, and if it wasn't for Logano's front bumper, he'd have a 50% hit rate in victory lane at Darlington in the Gen 7 car. And we've had 9 non-super speedways, and Hendrick and Gibbs have accounted for every single one of them. So I'm gonna bet Hendrick and Gibbs. Isn't that crazy? I know. I don't know. I had to get my foot in the door with the Hendrick and Gibbs bet, and the way that Byron's running, for them to hang him at plus 150 for a top 5, had to do it.
Got a couple questions here, and I appreciate you sharing that, Mark. So we got a couple questions that I just want to touch on real quick, and one came from Chris. So he was saying to us guys, the Buescher over the Bubba play, we talked about Bubba over Bowman. Going one of those or going both? What do you guys think? Everybody have a true opinion? I think the consensus was both, but is there a play that you would say, hey, just zero in on one of them or both of them?
I'd say Buescher over Bubba, but
yeah,
if it doesn't inspire confidence knowing that I'm not betting these, then maybe consider that too. But I'm just not as of a huge matchup guy. But if there's one matchup that has caught my ay and anything I've seen, it's Chris Buescher over Bubba Wallace. So I would zero in on that. Maybe they'd zero in on Bubba versus Bowman, because there's a good argument for that one too.
So is that a market, like our head-to-heads or matchups are matchups a market that you just tend to stay away from?
Yeah, I say I do. I say I stay away, and then I every now and then I do bet them. I couldn't tell you what my success rate on head-to-heads has been this year, but it's just something that racing to me is like UFC in a sense of it can be over just like that, regardless of average running position, which is absolutely important when it comes to speed, because you want to bet on who's fast. But it can be over so quickly, and that's why I hate head-to-head matchups, regardless of what price I get anything on, is because you feel like you have the right call the entire race, and it hurts more to lose those head-to-head matchups than it does to lose, a 20-1 outright, because it's 20-1 for a reason, while you're betting minus odds or fringe even money odds on a head-to-head matchup, and it all goes downhill in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my reasoning behind that, because there's just so much that can happen outside of a race car driver's talent. You have to rely on the talent of other drivers around him, 35 other drivers around him, and you have to rely upon what happens with the race car. You have to rely upon what happens with their pit crew, penalties. I mean, there's so many variables that have the potential for a knockout punch that makes me typically stay away from head-to-head matchups. If you see me bet a head-to-head, that means I'm really, really confident. Yeah, that's the best way to kind of explain that.
See, it's always fun hearing varying opinions, because like we all talk about the same thing on Twitter. So if anybody goes to any of our social media handles, they know what we're talking about. We all talk about similar things, but the strategy element. So I'm glad, Dale, I appreciate you kind of sharing that, because I was curious when you pointed that out. So let's move into, actually, last thing about Big Russ. He did point out about pit placement. We've not talked about pits, in the stall selection a whole lot. This is the last race for, I want to say, I know Gateway's coming up, but for a good while where, the pit placement's not really a big deal. It's a big deal here, especially getting on and off pit road as well. So I know there's a lot of people out there that dive into some of those elements. So I appreciate you calling that out there, Big Ross. Let's go to the outrights here. We got about 12 minutes left. Let's talk about the outright portion here. Dale, I'm going to let you kick this one off from an outright perspective. Where are you leading the people to water?
Well, I've already talked about Buescher and Kez, and I'm on both of those outrights. Yep. Martin Truex has my eye, man. This totally feels like a Martin Truex win. It's not something I want to bet right now, though. I'd like to wait till practice and qualifying, even though I feel like in the Gen 7 era, Truex has been better at qualifying and starting up front. It's rare you see him win a pole. He's kind of a sandbagger, it seems like. And for me, it just doesn't matter, because at these racetracks, as I like to call them, old man racetracks, Martin Truex shows up. When you think about the Gen 7 era, he's won at Dover, he's won at Sonoma, he's won at New Hampshire. To me, those three are just kind of old man racetracks. You have tire wear, you have different You have ability to run different lanes. You have long green flag runs. That's old man NASCAR right there. And that's where Truex is good at. And he won here in 2021 in an extremely dominating performance and has had speed here in the past. Just got to finish a race. Which with Martin Truex, regardless if it's his fault or not, he has a problem doing. So, 6.5 to 1 is not bad. I would not fault anybody betting that right now. I'm willing to wait and just see if, Kyle Larson or Denny Hamlin or Tyler Reddick comes out and blazes the field in practice and qualifying. And maybe it kind of dilutes the odds a little bit with Truex starting around, 11th to 15th. Maybe we get something a little bit better. And I'm not going to sweat if I have to bet a 5 to 1 ticket on Truex outright because it's just a really good racetrack for him. And if he's in the mix in practice and qualifying with speed, and if he's not, I'm still going to be thinking about it. So I'd lean Truex as a good favorite to bet on before we get into the weekend, along with a couple underdogs with Buescher and Keselowski, which, as I've called it on this show, or attempting to call it, I think Buescher or Keselowski will win this weekend, and that's like my bold call. I don't think it's that bold because they've both been knocking on the door in 2024. So that's kind of the three guys I'm looking at outside of my miracle long shot John Hunter Nemechek 300 to 1 ticket.
What a moment that would be. John Hunter finishes inside the top 3 and you got RFK right there as well. That'd be pretty cool. Mark, is this where we talk about your teas?
Would you like to talk about it now, Mr. Krabs? Yeah, we're on Kyle Busch 16 to 1, Hard Rock Sportsbook. And this is a wild card bet. As most of us know, my jaw dropped when I saw 16 to 1. I was expecting this to be around 12. I feel like 12 was a good number. It was low enough for the books not to get totally cooked with bet slips, but it was high enough to warrant the 50-50 chance that he shows up. And when I say that, I'm not talking Darlington. I'm just talking week to week. This 8 team, they show up, they're top 3 to top 5 car, and then the next week they are literally 15th, 17th place car. So when I saw 16, I had to jump on it. He's got way too good of midweek numbers at Darlington for me to ignore 16 to 1. It's a monster number. So he's 7th in the power rankings, and that's probably because Zach loops in all the comp races, and there's a few out there that are not that good. But when we focus at Darlington, the last 4 races, he's 2nd in NLD speed. Now, 2 of those were in a JGR car, and he's 2nd in average running position as well, the NLD average running position. But he's had some good runs as of late. He finished 4th at Dover a couple weeks ago with a very strong car. He finished 8th last week after a freaking video game, green, white, checkered, even though I think he was absolutely better than an 8th place car. He was dicing it up there. He was leading late in the 3rd stage there for a second. The wild card part comes in because, and I've talked about this plenty the last 2 seasons, last season and a half. What 8 car is going to show up? Okay. Like example, NLD speeds in the top 5 at the first 3 Darlington races, or 18th and a pair of 21st at Bristol, Homestead, and Bristol this year. So, and you can say this about any track we go to. He's got prep numbers that are conflicting. Half the comp tracks, he is lights out. The NLD speed, the average running position, the average finish, the this, the that, the fast laps, he lights out. And the other half is like, wow, he should just go drive a front row car at that point. I mean, it's just you don't know what you're going to get. So, but once again, putting the emphasis back on Darlington, I love hanging my hat on the previous Darlington runs. As Dale said earlier, it's just a veteran's track, and it's very tough to get around, and you have to survive here. And sure, there's going to be chaos, but you put yourself in the right positions, then you minimize the chance that you're going to get caught up in someone else's mess. Now, another thing to note, all 4 races, he's had something go wrong. And shout out Ryan, iFantasy Race. He does these driver spotlights on Twitter. I love them because they're great. So I'm just going to run through them real quick because you guys all need to know that Kyle Busch has been absolutely lights out in all 4 Gen 7 races. 2022 stage or the spring race, Keselowski had a tire go down and careened into the 18. That's what the note says. Okay. 2022 fall, how could we ever forget the ticking time bomb that JGR gave him? Blew up under caution. Give me a break. That's a joke. I was on him that day. Spring last year had a slow stop that dropped him from 4th to outside the top 10 late in stage 3. And of course, in the fall, got burned by a Ryan Newman caution that I lost it on my phone. Anyway, Kyle, the moral of the story is I think Kyle Busch is going to show up this week. He's going to be on the good side of the 50-50, and he just knows how to get around. And another note, I think Ryan said it earlier, Red Dog was really good in the 8-card Darlington. So fired up for Kyle Busch, 16-1.
I hear that. I like it. Okay, so a little love there for the 8 car. Ryan, what about you?
Well, yeah, I love that. Like I totally agree with the Kyle Busch thing. That's why I didn't really think it was particularly close, the head-to-head over Gibbs, for all those reasons that Mark said as well. Let's stick with the old man theme. I'm fully on board with that. So you mentioned the Busch or the Kez, the Kyle Busch. I mean the Truex. So let's just stay with that and go with Denny. I think, this is just an obvious, super boring pick. But when FanDuel opened, he was plus 550. Thought that was a great line. Took it. Don't mind taking the 450 that's there now, or a 500 if you could find it somewhere. Denny has, we talk about all these problems that people have at this track, and that's why, like, when you asked me what my favorite betting market was, I thought top tens because probably easier to predict that here, just in case something goes wrong at the end. But Denny finishes here. I mean, he's won over 17% of his races at Darlington, which is only 4, but he's raced here over 20 times. That's not a small sample size when we're talking about a NASCAR driver's career at a certain track, especially a track like Darlington, which takes a certain skill to get around this place. So those numbers are right around his percentage of wins that he has here anyways. To me, that's pretty fair. And then you think about, well, what's going to happen in practice and qualifying? Is it ever going to stretch out? Probably not, even if he's bad. He's been known to sandbag practice a little bit every now and then. He comes to the race and he goes from 14th to 1st in stage 1, no problem. But here last year at Darlington, he had the best average qualifying position, 8 and 2, and JGR won the pole in both those races. So I think he's got a great shot to qualify really well here. And then that number goes to perhaps what Larson kicked off at last week, 350, 400, something stupid like that. So I don't mind getting it early. I do totally agree. It's, the old man's track. And I really hope it would be so fun if Brad could break the streak here or something like that. Like it'd just be awesome. But yeah, man, I'm fine betting Hamlin right now for all those reasons.
Okay, so you like betting Hamlin there. So let's do this with the few minutes we have left. Ryan, I'm going to kick it back to you first. Best bet, best value on the board that you found.
Well, I think it's interesting, everything that was said about JHN, Nemechek. You could also look at a top Toyota market where I know earlier he was like 130-1 to win, to be top Toyota only. That's just a crazy number when there's only 7 of them or around there. What do we got? 7 now?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's insane. That'd be, I think, what is that? 7 or 8-1 is fair amongst all drivers if they were equal. Obviously, they're not all equal, but no one should be 130-1, especially someone who's that good here. I saw earlier too, Greg was on Gragson top Ford. That was a great value earlier. I think it's probably been slashed in half most places now, but if you could find it around that 8 or 9-1 earlier, this might be, Gragson's best track looking back at his Xfinity numbers here. And that team's been real strong right now. So, I like the top Toyota market at JHN or the top Ford market at Gragson if you could find like an 8 or 9 out there hanging out somewhere.
Okay. Dale, how about you? I'm going to let you go next.
Sticking with Chris Buescher. Let's go top 3 and top 5s.
Okay.
6.5-1 top 3 and a 3-1 top 5. He ran third here last fall, and I don't even know what else I need to say about it. I think Chris Buescher is going to be a contender. I think he's going to be a factor. 6th best average finish amongst all active drivers in every Darlington race is 2021. Multiple top 10s, 4 top 10s in his last 6. Second last week at Kansas, very, very good speed. RFK has gotten better and better here. They've gotten better and better in general as a program. So it's the Chris Buescher weekend for me. And, I think about this too, because I think about what Mark said. This is the week that no one's gonna bet on him because they're pissed at him, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, get away from me, man! I can't look at you, Chris Buescher. I can't even look at you right now." And that's the time where he's gonna come back and he's gonna bite. So give me Chris Buescher 6.5 to 1 for top 3 and 3 to 1 top 5. I'm already on both of them.
Okay, I like that. What
That
about
may not
you,
be
Mark?
the best value, but it's the best Dale Tanhart value. We'll go that way.
That's right. Best DT value. There you go. What about you, Mark? Make it quick.
I'm going Ross Chastain, top 10, minus 120 on Caesars. I think he's minus 149. Once again, I got to go on Tuesdays. But Ross he's a spring versus fall guy. In the spring, he's nuts. Average running position in the top 5 in both races. He also won stage 2 in both of those races. And last year, wrecked underneath Larson. We all know that. But he's also had a little bit of the Kyle Busch bug. He's had problems in 3 of the 4 Darlington races, and he's still had some pretty decent finishes. So he's 9th in the power rankings. He's 7th in NLD speed the last 4 Darlington races. And he's been a top 5 car in 3 of the last 4 Darlington races. So the only thing you got to look out for here, everyone is, progressing, especially the top 2 Chevrolet and Toyota teams. Trackhouse, they just can't get to the next level. So I love the number minus 120. I don't love the minus 140. So if you can get a Chastain top 10 minus 120, go slap it.
Go slap it. Okay. And Mark, real quick, how can everybody best support you and what you got going on?
Appreciate that, Derek. Land Coin will be out tonight, audio, YouTube Friday. And actually, I just lied. We're outsourcing again. I got a busy week. Anyway, Land Coin, go listen to it. Spotify, Apple. We are now on YouTube. And just converse with me on Twitter. I like talking shit. So come talk some shit, and I'll talk some shit back. So appreciate you guys. Dale, you're the man. Appreciate you coming.
What about you, Ryan? How can everybody best support what you got going on?
Oh, sorry. I was just betting Chris Buescher is even money on Caesars. So I just a top 10. So I just threw a on that while we were talking. You can find me wintherace.info or on Twitter, X, whatever it is, Win the Race P1. We'll have this week. I'll only have, I think, DraftKings projections for Xfinity and Cup due to the short turnaround truck time. I think we're going out to dinner that night. So, but we'll have ranks out for everything, practice model out for everything. So check it out, wintherace.info.
Okay. And Dale, I think you're streaming after this, correct? So you're going to be live on Kick. And how can everybody support what you got going on? Always appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Mark, you are the man as well. Ryan, great stuff. And Derek, thanks for hosting this really, really awesome show every single week. And I appreciate the dedication to the NASCAR betting content in everything that you guys have going on. So at Dale Tanhart everywhere. YouTube channel is where you can find my betting content primarily, at least in video form. That's Dale Center. That's my flagship betting program where I cover all NASCAR National Series. And we have a triple header this weekend. So that should be out on Friday because we've got a Friday night truck race, Saturday Xfinity race, and then the big one Sunday with the Goodyear 400 with the Cup race. So at Dale Tanhart on any platform you could think of. There's probably something stupid out there, but all the smarts are on YouTube and my Action Network profile with the NASCAR Cup Series betting. All my betting picks are typically there unless it's a qualifying bet. And then all the video insight is on YouTube at Dale Tanhart. So there you have it. Appreciate you guys.
I like it. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. Listen, make sure you subscribe to In Between Media. Give them a like, retweet, or subscribe here on the YouTube side. You can follow me at Derek Yoder _ on X. Follow the show while you're there as well at NASCAR BPS. Dale and I are hoping to get a Truck Series pod out if we ever get any odds. Might get them right before 5 minutes before the race. Who knows? But we're hoping to do something. If not, this show is going to be off next week with the All-Star race, but we'll be back for the 600. Guys, thanks again as always, and best of luck this weekend as we bet Darlington.